I've seen a lot of folks jump on the cheapest sheet metal brake they can find, only to end up wrestling with uneven bends, a wobbling frame, or a blade that just won't hold a 12-gauge sheet straight. The disappointment shows up the moment you try to make a repeatable 90-degree corner for a ductwork prototype and the metal snaps back or the stop rod slips. That kind of regret makes you wonder whether spending a little more on a solid machine could actually save you time and money in the long run. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When you're setting up a small shop, a home-based fabrication space, or even a school workshop, the first thing you ask yourself is, will this brake handle the material I actually use, and will it stay level after hours of bending? The Baileigh 96-inch manual sheet metal brake promises exactly that: an 8-foot reach, a blade that tolerates 12-gauge mild steel, and even 16-gauge stainless, and a maximum bend angle of 135 degrees. Those numbers look good on paper, but the real test is how they translate into daily workflow. If you're a hobbyist who only needs to make occasional brackets or a single-piece enclosure, a compact 24-inch brake might feel less intimidating and cheaper. But the moment you start needing consistent bends across a full 8-foot sheet, say, building a custom metal canopy for a garden shed or fabricating a series of HVAC ducts for a renovation, the extra length becomes a genuine advantage. The Baileigh's 96-inch beam lets you lay the whole sheet flat on the floor stand, so you never have to wrestle with a piece that overhangs the machine and bends unevenly. One of the practical strengths that shows up right away is the stop rod. It's built in, not an add-on, and it lets you set a precise bend point and then swing the lever repeatedly without having to measure each time. In a small production run of, say, 20 brackets for a bike rack, you can dial in the stop, lock it, and crank out identical pieces with minimal variation. The two heavy-duty counterweights do the heavy lifting for you. The lever feels surprisingly light even when you're pushing a full-thickness 12-gauge sheet to its 135-degree limit. That reduces fatigue, which matters when you're bending a long run of material on a Saturday afternoon. The steel floor stand is another area where the design pays off. It's not just a tabletop with legs. The stand positions the beam at a comfortable height that keeps you from hunching over or reaching up. When you're making a series of bends on a 96-inch sheet, you'll appreciate that the whole setup stays stable, even if you accidentally bump the side of the machine. The counterweights sit low, keeping the center of gravity grounded, and the whole thing feels solid enough that you can lean on it a little without worrying about tipping. Now, no tool is perfect, and the brake does have a few trade-offs that matter if you're very particular about space or precision. First, the footprint is sizable. Even though the steel stand is sturdy, you'll need a dedicated corner of your garage or workshop that can accommodate an 8-foot beam and the accompanying counterweights. If you're operating out of a cramped basement, you might find it a squeeze to roll the sheet in and out without hitting walls or shelves. Second, the manual nature of the brake means you're relying entirely on your own force to achieve the bend angle. The lever is well balanced, but for very thick material beyond the 12-gauge limit, you'll still feel a noticeable strain. That's not a deal-breaker for most sheet metal work, but if you plan to venture into 10-gauge or heavier steel, you'll need to upgrade to a hydraulic model later. Another subtle point is the blade's tolerance. Baileigh advertises a precisely machined blade that delivers the tightest possible bend, and in practice you'll notice a cleaner line than you'd get with a budget brake. However, the blade is a fixed width, so you have to plan your bend locations accordingly. If your design calls for a bend very close to the edge of the sheet, you'll need to leave enough margin for the blade to engage fully. That's a common consideration for any brake, but the larger the machine, the more you have to think about positioning the sheet on the bed. Who should consider buying this brake? If you're a small business owner who fabricates custom brackets, enclosures, or ductwork on a regular basis, the Baileigh offers a professional-grade reach without stepping up to an industrial CNC brake. It's also a solid choice for an advanced maker who wants to experiment with larger projects. Think building a custom metal coffee table top, a small roll-forming jig, or a series of structural braces for a tiny house. The combination of the 96-inch length, the built-in stop rod, and the counterweights gives you repeatability and capacity that most hobby-level brakes simply can't match. Who might skip it? If you only ever need to bend a few 24-inch pieces a month, the investment in a full-size 8-foot